finished boot camp, and before I went to this ship had the landing craft, I had been assigned to a destroyer, a Navy destroyer, USS Ashley. And less than a year later, I was in Okinawa. I was picking up survivors from the Ashley. We'd already been assigned to a new ship, and so we went. A lot of us went to Coronado and were taught how to run a Higgins craft, which the boat that they used to take troops ashore, in an invasion. We learned how to do that. Then we got on the ship and we left. You had a crew of about 2 on each boat, and the ship carried about 20-some landing craft. It was rigged to carry 30, I believe it was 30 troops with their packs and everything, And they had light armor on it, 230 caliber machine guns, which we never got to use. When we went into Aishima, we got hung up. My boat got hung up on a reef, and we had to. They tried a salvage boat come in to pull us off, and they got their line tangled up in our screw, and so we couldn't. We had to go down. I had to go down and cut the line off the screw to get it out of there. That water was cold. We went back to the Philippines and picked up elements of the Americal Division, and then we went took them to Saipan, and then we picked up the elements of the 2nd Marine Division, and they were the ones that we were going to take into Japan for the invasion of Japan. And we waited there until all the ships were loaded and everything, and in the meantime, they dropped the big bomb on Hiroshima and the other city in Japan. And we were happy about that because we had lost a lot of men if we'd had to go to Japan. But there's 4 or 5 battleships anchored in there with us waiting to go to Japan. And one of the battleships let loose was a broadside, and it woke everybody up. And then they found out that they had dropped the bomb in Hiroshima, and that the war was over. What we did, we went back to Japan with the occupation force, and we stayed in the harbor there during the signing of the peace treaty. We were just a few ships back from the Missouri where they signed the treaty, and that was pretty enjoyable. Not the way we got to go to Japan. The Japanese at that time, a lot of them had committed suicide, jumping into the bay, Tokyo Bay, and we had used our boats picking them up for about the first 3 or 4 days. Picking them out of the water and taking them into the beach so that they could be identified. They'd committed suicide. I don't know, there's thousands of them. And it wasn't very pleasant. These are pictures that we took out of stores in Japan when we occupied, the first day that we occupied Japan. These are kamikaze pilots getting briefed on their last flight. Yeah. They got enough gas for one way. That's the truth.
And what was the reception you got when you got home?
Oh, it was great.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Well, they had bands and all that out there to meet us and everything. It was different than it was from when we come back from Vietnam. I was staying in Chicago with my brother and his family. And I was going to stay there while I went to college, and Korea, the North Koreans decided they was going educate the South Koreans. I was a salvage diver. I worked off of a salvage ship in Korea. This here is the prisoners of war that we had to transport. We're going to transport to the east coast of Korea for internment until they settled them on the armistice. This was a picture of the people that was class 14 in underwater demolition teams. There's this is the 4th week of underwater demolition that they had this Hell Week. And if you got past up to the Hell Week, you pretty well had it made. But if you got through Hell Week, which many didn't, you'd have about half that much when you finished the class out, and finished the course. You know, it's going through the surf with rubber boats, and one of the guys we got hit by a big breaker, and he threw his paddle back and hit me and got me in the eye. It took about 4 or 5 stitches in my eye. And they didn't give me the rest of it. I got sent to the naval, to the UDT training. They didn't have SEAL teams at that time. It was just UDT Underwater Demolition Team. Okay. So that's when I went back in '54 and went through UDT training. We don't talk too much about those missions. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. Communist Organization for South Vietnam. It's the ones we were actually fighting. They would come down from the north at night, and if we got intelligence telling how they were coming, we would usually set up an ambush, or vice versa. They set up an ambush on us. It was really a war that we should not have been in, because we had nothing to gain and everything to lose, and we lost a lot in Vietnam. These are some of the first lungs they call that they come out with, and they had this here flexible hose. And that didn't work out too good because you could just squeeze that and shut off the air to it, you know. So if he's going through a reconnaissance or something and run into some kelp beds or something, you'd get some kelp over your shoulder or something and shut your air off. First time that happened to me, I thought, God, somebody's cut off my air. But I just backed off and got away from that kelp and made it out. This is Crown Prince Constantine from Greece. He was visiting over here at the time, and he wanted to do some training with the frogmen. That's what we call the frogmen. And so I was assigned him as his swim partner. And when we'd go out through the surf in these little rubber boats, I had to make sure that he got back. If he didn't get back, I better not come back. Just in basic underwater demolition team training, calisthenics, and teach them how to go through the surf and come back in to swim through. And we had to make sure that we'd have to do a head count before we started into the surf, and then head count when they got back ashore to make sure everybody got out. They just assigned us a temporary duty from the teams to go help with the training class, you know, that's going through. This was an official Navy picture taken when we were. We had teams when we started shooting people into the sky, and when they come back down, we'd have teams out spotted and about where they were going to come in at, and we'd have teams. Like I was assigned to the aircraft carrier, and some of the team may be assigned to a land base or something. But there was about 4 or 5 men in each team. One of the teams would pick up the guy, would be the closest one to him, and they'd pick up when they come back into the Earth's atmosphere.
So that's the Navy working with NASA?
Yeah.
And where were you located when you were doing that job?
Pardon?
Where were you located?
Well, we would be assigned somewhere along the coast. We between San Diego and Seattle, Washington. You know, anywhere along the coast there we'd stay there for maybe 2 or 3 weeks sometimes, which wasn't bad duty. I was chairman of the Nevada County Democratic Committee for about 4 years, I guess, and all during Bill Clinton when he was governor and when he was president. So I got to know him. I got to know him pretty well. President Clinton would invite us every year on Veterans Day to the White House to have breakfast with him.
Very nice.
And this is one of those days. And I thought that was pretty good of him.
Very nice.
He never forgot his hometown people. He would call us aside and introduce us as friends of his family. That was quite an honor. People in the SEAL teams and the UDT teams were real close to each other, you know. And that was something that was just required in an outfit like that to go off to war together. And you had to learn to accept the fact that some of them weren't going to be killed, which there was, quite a few. If you're a kid, when you come into the teams like that, if you live long enough, you'll become a man. It takes a different. You have to really want to do something like that before you get into it and find out that it's not for you. But if that's something you want to learn to do, be sure that's what you want to do, you know? And go ahead and do it. Do the best you can.